Hello, 7th graders. This is Mr. Shear, and today's topic is the Mount St. Helens eruption of May 18th, 1980. If you recognize that picture on the left, it's because I posted that on May 18th of this year, 2020. That is a newly discovered photo from Mount St. Helens from a survivor, and it's a Pinto towing a motorcycle. But that photo has just been released, that some family found it on an undeveloped camera, and I posted it this year on May 18th of 2020 because it's the 40th anniversary of the Mount St. Helens eruption. On the right is a young man who lost his life, Daniel Johnston, in the eruption, and we're going to talk more about him in your assignment today. Just to be clear, give you some perspective, Mount St. Helens is here in southwestern Washington. Five facts that you should just know. 57 people were killed. It caused ash to land in 11 states. The eruption was on May 18th, 1980. It actually led to the coldest summer in Washington state history, and it's still reforming. The mountain is coming back. So your assignment today is actually an ed puzzle. And it's a two-part ed puzzle. So one part will be today and the other part on Tuesday. What I like about this particular video that I show you in the ed puzzle, and what I want you to pay attention to when you watch the ed puzzle, is the stories of the people who made it and the people who didn't make it. On this video today, I'm going to do an overview of the eruption, but I'm not talking about individual survivor stories or stories of heroism, stories of families who were trapped. Some make it, some don't. The gentleman you're looking at on your screen is a photographer for the Columbia newspaper, Reed Blackburn, and unfortunately he does not make it. He was out there to take photos for the local newspaper. He had a remote-controlled camera. He thought he was outside of the blast zone. He tried to make a getaway. His last radio contact was he tried to make a getaway, but by the time they unfortunately found his car, he did not survive the eruption. So I'd like you to do your best to track in the ed puzzle video. Do your best to track some of the stories because it's human stories, and it's stories of people who, in some cases, didn't survive. So this is Mount St. Helens, obviously in Washington State. Prior to the eruption of 1980, it was actually a pretty idyllic area. It's surrounded by Spirit Lake. There's great fishing, great hiking, and it was a huge timber and forest service land. So they did lots of logging, lots of industry in this area. Lots of outdoor recreation near Mount St. Helens. Now, the mountain is part of 20 active volcanoes in the Cascade Range, including Mount Baker, Glacier Peak, Mount Hood going down in Oregon. And really, there was not a lot of suspect that it was going to explode until a 4.3 earthquake on March 20th. So the mountain gave a little eruption on March 20th with a 4.3 earthquake. This was the first earthquake on record since 1857, when Native Americans also witnessed an earthquake. So it had been 123 years. The earthquake resulted in scientists rushing to the area. Everybody wanted to study Mount St. Helens. And it was suddenly filled, ironically, with lots more people. The mountain continued to let off steam. It continued to smoke. And if you notice, the first date was March 20th. It doesn't blow till May. So people started to get more and more comfortable getting close to the mountain. At first, there was a lot of caution. And then people started to get more and more comfortable getting close to the mountain. The mountain, however, was growing. On the north face, it was bulging. sometimes at a rate of 5 feet per day. You could see a mound start to grow. By the beginning of May, the north face had actually bulged out about 450 feet from its original size. Now, partially what caused this was there's an underground chamber where the lava was being pushed up and forced upward, only it hit tough granite and it was forced to move to the north face of the mountain. The mountain began to crack, smoke, and splinter, giving more and more warnings of its eventual eruption. Now, eventually they evacuated the area around Spirit Lake. The evacuation zone, in retrospect, was not big enough. People continued to protest the evacuation. They weren't allowed to go to their homes. And Spirit Lake in the community is not a huge community, but there are a lot of vacation homes around Mount St. Helens. So eventually, police relented, and people were actually allowed to go back to their homes to get their stuff and their materials. Now, of course, the big eruption is May 18th, 1980. The mountain gives way. This is one of the largest single, you're watching the actual landslide as the mountain slid way. The photographer that took that pictures, that time-lapse photo of the mountain giving way, barely made it out with his life. 230 square miles were blanketed in ash as the mountain blew out the north face. The mountain caused a path of devastation unprecedented in our state. It continued to blow for 9 hours, up to 16 miles high of smoke. This is actual footage, not that one. Estimates vary, but it is the equivalent of several atomic bombs exploding at once. Ash reached around the world. In some places, ash was found near the mountain at 2,000 feet deep. Ash reached Japan within the matter of hours, and they found ash as far away as some parts of Europe, which would mean traveling basically all the way around the world. Many towns, including Yakima, Washington, were blanketed in ash. The crater was over 2 miles wide
and over 2,000
and 2,000 feet deep. I meant to turn the volume off. The next issue after the eruption is that Mount St. Helens, just like Mount Baker or Mount Rainier, is covered in snow, year-round glaciers. So immediately there was mass flooding as the glaciers melted instantaneously. Thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of water immediately swept down the Toutle River. And this is how some people lost their lives, as the water crashed into bridges, took out homes, and destroyed entire towns down below. Mixed with the water would be mud, in some cases lava, and then debris including trees, railroad ties, homes, and things that it had picked up. Helicopter pilots went quickly into the area to look for anyone they could rescue. They described it as a Martian landscape. And the devastation was just enormous. Of course, wildlife lost its life. Entire forests were decimated. And most of Spirit Lake, once a thriving large lake, was covered in mud and destroyed. And Spirit Lake has never come back to be the same size. But you can see the log jams and the debris. Over time, however, Mount St. Helens has recovered. It's been 40 years, and it also led to a huge scientific study of how quickly can decimated landscape recover. And scientists actually put Mount St. Helens, from their initial estimations, it is ahead of schedule. So that's a quick overview video of the eruption. Your assignment is the Ed puzzle. I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at today's Google Meet.